Hi, welcome to Table Talk Back. My name is Rodney Smith, and here we're going to take a look at your comments and suggestions around tips for attending gaming conventions. In the last video, I shared some of my advice, and I'll put a link to that in the description below if you'd like to check that out. But here we're going to dive in a little bit deeper, starting with our video contribution from special guest Maggie Bott. Now, Maggie has attended a lot of different conventions, so let's take a look and see what she has to say.
Hey everyone, it's Maggie Bott. Thank you to you and thank you to Rodney for having me on Table Talk. I watched his episode of Convention Tips and Tricks and I read through your comments and I have some things to add to your list. So we're talking about carrying stuff around the con, granola and hand sanitizer. I'm going to add things to your backpack as it were. I would recommend a battery charger or two plus cables as well as ibuprofen. Both of those will help you in the long run. You're probably using your phone a lot. You're probably doing something that will drain the battery, but also it helps the people around you. So maybe the people at your table could use a little extra juice. You're making their convention experience better and making your own better by proxy. Getting out of the convention center. Yes, Rodney mentioned meals, but I would take it a step further. Go see whatever the town is known for. For me, I always go find a pinball bar. For you, maybe it was a museum or a karaoke bar or something amazing like a ball of yarn. Whatever it is, travel is important to go see some flavor of the town that you're in so you understand a little bit better. Also, you can't really say that you've been to Cincinnati if all you saw was the inside of their pretty white-walled convention center. As far as social anxiety stuff goes, I have really high social anxiety, so cons can be a very stressful environment for me. I've found some ways of combating that. Before I get to the con or even at the con, I might reach out to someone on social media saying, hey, I'm going to be at the thing you're at. I'd like to say hello. It sounds a little silly, but it helps when I see them across the hall. I never have to have that conversation in my head of, oh, should I go over there? Do they want to say hello to me? They know that I'm coming. They're forewarned. They can run away. If your avatar is not your face, you may consider making it your face. But even if you've got your face plastered everywhere, try and write your handle of wherever you hang out on your badge. So I'm Maggie Bott on all the things. So I try and get that on my badge. For me, I don't really love scheduling anything. If you like schedule away. Schedule everything you want. I don't really love schedules on vacations. But I like having one scheduled something. So be that a library shift, charity marathon, demoing for a publisher, you could even get paid. That is very important for me to have a place to go and do a thing on purpose. It also helps if people want to say hello or they wanted to meet you. It gives them a time and place to do so without a lot of having to coordinate schedules with wonky data connections or whatever. Don't break every routine you have. The post-con drop is so jarring for some of us, and having to go from no routines right back into your old routines and trying to catch up at work and do all these things can stress you out and make your con worse in hindsight. So if you work out every day, work out in the morning. If you eat at the same times every day, eat at the same time while you're there. Don't break every routine just because you're at a con. There's no reason to do so. For me, the last thing I will say for the anxiety bit, this might be too far for you. Every time I do a thing, I play a game, I go to a show or whatever it is, I take kind of a 15-minute little walk, recenter myself, take some breaths, be by myself, listen to music, something to kind of reset and reconnect with the next thing that I've got going on. That's all for me for now. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing what y'all had to say.
No surprise, Maggie had a whole bunch of great suggestions there. And yes, definitely throw extra batteries and cables into your convention bag. On my old phone, not this one, I had a case with an extra battery built right into it. It just added like a couple more millimeters of thickness to it, not much at all, but it would allow me to do a very intensive day of social media videos and pictures, and the battery would last the entire day right into the evening. So that can also be a nice way of upgrading your phone to get you through a full day of convention. I also really like the suggestion about leaving the convention hall to do something entirely different. Now I know some of you might be thinking, but then I'm giving up valuable gaming time. Yes, you are, but I find getting away from the convention hall can really recharge you. So when you get back, you're really actually maximizing the time that you have. It's not about the quantity of time you're having at the convention, but the quality of it, right? right? I know when I was in Essen at the Spiel Fair, I would set my alarm for 4:30 in the morning. I would get up, I'd go for a run, I'd see a bit of the town, I'd answer some emails. I would just get a few things done and away from the convention and the convention experience. And then I would find it sort of supercharged my whole day. I felt really good. Now, mind you, I was also going to bed a little bit early every evening, and that helped. Maggie also had some really good ideas there about how to manage some potential social anxieties. Now, that's not an area where I have particular struggles, but I'll tell you this. I remember my first year at Gen Con. After the dealer hall opened and everyone rushed in there, I was probably in for about an hour before I kind of looked around and said, okay, I'm done. And I went right back to my hotel room. I dropped some things off I picked up, and I just kind of decompressed. I don't mind crowds. I don't mind being around a lot of people, but it was a lot. It was kind of overwhelming. So many people in such a panic and rush to get their games, and it was really good just to have a few moments again to myself and then go right back into it. So don't be afraid or ashamed to carve out time just for yourself to get what you need out of the experience. This is your convention, so make it the experience that you want it to be. Okay, let's move on to some of your tips and suggestions that you provided us with as well. Bruce Brown asks, that was a sweet stowaway bag. What was it? He's talking about this bag I showed in the last video. Unfortunately, it's just like an Eddie Bauer, I think, generic bag that they just rebranded as their own. So I would just look for, again, a stowaway bag, just like you called it. Do a search, maybe find something similar, and it'll do the trick. All right, Mark Cook wrote, conventions aren't for everyone. So before trying to get to one of the big ones, there's likely a smaller mid-sized event somewhere near you that'll be much more affordable and will help you in realizing whether being in big noisy crowds is for you and whether the larger events are your bag. Now Mark actually runs his own convention, AirCon, in the UK. I've been there once before, I'm going back again, and I can't wait. It's a great convention. If you're near that one, I highly recommend it. But Mark gives you a really good tip here. There's obviously an attraction to going to the big, loud conventions, the real exciting ones. That's what we think of them as, right? But I'll tell you, some of my favorite convention experiences during the year are the smaller conventions. They're more intimate. You're not being pulled in as many different directions. It's a great way of getting not just getting your feet wet. Staying at the mid-level or smaller conventions might be all you ever want to do, and that's perfectly fine. So don't just be pining after the big experience. Look for that smaller one like Mark's suggesting. Maybe that would be a good fit for you. Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise says, a few cough drops each day can help prevent your voice from going out as quickly at longer, noisier conventions like Gen Con. Daily cough drops helped me eke out an extra day or two. Yeah, I think what Chaz is saying here, like myself, you're often going to find at the end of the convention, no matter what, your voice is somewhat diminished, a little bit ragged, but cough drops can extend how long you go before you really lose your voice, and they might help you not lose it at all. I do highly recommend that as well. And I'm going to try not to provide a director's running commentary on all these great tips. It's tempting for me to do so, but I want to get through as many of these as possible, so I'll try to keep my comments to a minimum. Good tip though, Chaz. Dave Zokvik says, wear comfortable shoes. You're likely going to spend a significant amount of time on your feet. Yes, that's true. Take care of them. It's not fashionable, but I often wore running shoes. Dave, I did the same thing. Running shoes are fantastic if you guys spend a whole bunch of time running around the conventions. There, see, I'm talking again. I can't help myself. John Detmer writes, slather on the deodorant and bring along some in your backpack. It's also good to have extra cash. Some booths don't take credit cards. Also, cargo pants and shorts are functional and stylish. 3 great tips. Okay, I'm going to have to talk about this one. I also always pack deodorant in my carry-on bag with me to the convention hall. Because look, it's a long day. It's a lot of people. It's not unusual to get a little hot under the collar. It's nice for you. It's nice for the people around you if you do a daily touch-up with the deodorant. Not a bad idea either. In fact, I would almost insist you should shower every day. Now look, not everyone does this, and there might be religious or personal reasons why you don't. But for other people, I think sometimes they're just not aware that they've got a funk on them because they don't smell it on themselves. If you're not showering every day at a convention and you have no reason not to be, you should. And I'm only re-emphasizing that because at every convention, you will hear stories of people who just found it difficult to be gaming at a table with a stranger who maybe wasn't as, well, they just weren't as fresh as they could have or should have been. So maybe there's no one in your life telling you this. I just want to be the nice, gentle voice saying, please consider it. Okay, back to Bruce Brown. He says, attend the first timer event if the conference has one, as this will help you know about the norms, events, and highlights of that convention. Great tip. Also, volunteer. That helps you build a new network, plus it feels great to know that you had a hand in making the convention a success. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to comment on each of these, but I have to say something about this one as well. One of the best things I think I ever did at a convention was volunteer to do some demos for a publisher. I only volunteered for a couple of hours just to give somebody else a break. It was such a good experience because it gave me some insight into how difficult it is to live demo to people in a convention, and it made me much more empathetic towards other people who are also demoing. So I think if you consider yourself a good games teacher, volunteer, give a couple hours of your convention. The publisher will really appreciate it. You'll learn a new experience, and it also might give you a greater appreciation for what it's like for all those people who are not just doing it for 2 hours, but like sometimes all day long for multiple days. To all of you who are demoing at conventions like that, you're doing God's work. All right, TR Knight says, remember, big conventions are marathons, not sprints. So true. I want to enjoy Sunday afternoon as much as I did Wednesday morning. I find eating 3 healthy meals a day lets me catch up with family and friends, and getting 6 to 7 hours of sleep each night leads me to having much more energy and a good attitude. I know I talked about similar things in the last video, but I just wanted to reemphasize that. Really important. Lincoln Dammer says, a travel humidifier has been the best thing for Nikki and me. Our voices usually bounce back from too much talking each night and helps prevent us from getting sick. We prefer one that lets you use small, cheap water bottles. Yeah, I've seen what they have. It's like a little contraption, very small. You just take a water bottle, you pop it into the top of it, and then it just spits a nice mist into the air in your hotel room. It can really keep you from just drying out, which also can really wreck your voice. Vitruvian Gamer wrote, I have a folder that I carry with everything I need, a floor plan, a list of the booths where I have pre-orders, along with the exact money in Ziploc bags to make paying as fast and easy as possible. I love this idea. I also do something similar. I take a folder like this, and inside, well, this is empty, but I do often print out my own personal schedule. See, this is one from Origins this year. It talks about all my flight information is on here. This is the barcode for registration in case they don't have me. I've got my schedule of what I'm doing every day. I've got unscheduled things I'd like to try to fit in if I can. I've got games I want to play. I was doing some work with Board Game Geek, so I have that listed here. And I also have like games that were of interest to me, things I wanted to maybe go buy or try out, along with the names of the publishers and their booth numbers. So just, it takes about an hour or so to put something like this together, but it's so worth it. I always have everything I need really handy in my backpack. And I also like to print out a map of the exhibit floor area as well, which can be really helpful. Okay, Vitruvian Gamer goes on to say, don't be afraid to talk to people. And he's saying this as a self-confessed introvert. Socialize at demo tables. Say hi to people you know from social media. Converse with the person demoing the game you're playing. Take a selfie with a designer. It's a very, very friendly hobby. I've never gotten a no when asking for a picture or an autograph. I just want to echo what Kurt, the Vitruvian Gamer here, is saying. I know I should be quiet and just move on. I can't help myself again, because I also feel that my experience at conventions has been the same. I've had very, very few negative encounters or experiences with people. Everyone, by and large, is friendly. They're excited and enthusiastic to be a part of an event that's celebrating their hobby. So most people you're going to come across are going to be generally pretty nice and pretty welcoming. There are always exceptions. Okay, Table Talk Games blog says, print out a smaller version of the exhibition map and highlight who you want to see so you can easily find them. Accompany that with an exhibitor list, so if you spot something, you can note it down and maybe come back later. Okay, that's like this map I showed you earlier. This is a printout of the Gen Con exhibition hall. So this is great. You can just mark this up with all the places you want to go. You could star the different exhibitor names down here. Or if you're trying to find an exhibitor later, this is great because it has them all alphabetized. I think that's right. And then you can find them quite easily here on the map. I'll tell you something, at Gen Con in particular, it's a gong show trying to get around that dealer hall. So just having something handy like that already printed out, not in the, like buried in the middle of some program, but like just something easy you can pull out of your pocket, so handy. Oh, and I also should mention, there's the Board Game Geek preview list. Now this is something you can go to on the Board Game Geek website, and for Gen Con and for Essen particularly, they will list all of the games that people have bothered to record that are releasing there. So this is a great way before you go to a convention to see everything that's going to be on offer there, both demo and for sale. You can tag all those things. It tells you what booth numbers those things are at. Then you can filter the list afterwards by your choices. So it's a great way of creating that list yourself. Okay, moving on. Halo X30 says, ask if you can demo a game for a few rounds. I found that sometimes they played a whole 1+ hour game, and I usually get a feeling for the game in less than half of that time. Just be honest and upfront about the time you have or are willing to spend. Great tip, Halo. I sometimes will go to a demo, I'll sit down there in the same way, I'll be like, I really want to leave, but I feel like that would be rude to do. So just be honest up front when you sit down. Remember, again, this is your con, this is your experience, so you're well within your rights to go, look, I really want to check out this game, but I only have time for a couple of rounds. Would it be okay to do that? And then I can leave? Most times, they won't mind. They're just happy to be showing the game to you. And again, oftentimes, they can continue on with the demo with the other people at the table, even if you leave. Halo also says, be mindful of your possessions, beware of thieves. I hate that this has to be something to be mindful of, but it's true. You've got a lot of people in a small space with a lot of money. That's going to attract pickpockets and thieves. So just keep a handle on your backpack, keep a handle on your wallet. Don't leave things too loosely. Don't leave a wallet in the back pocket that's sticking out. Maybe put it in a front pocket. Just be careful. Mark Cook is back with another great tip. He says, if you're going to buy games, especially at one of the larger conventions, get in touch with your friendly local game store beforehand to see what they're going to have in stock anyway. With improved distribution, even new releases are in stores shortly after the convention, and it saves you having to lug it all back with you. Instead, look out for less well-known or rarer games that will be hard to get hold of when you're home. Excellent tip. You will not find that most of the games at conventions are priced any cheaper than what you'd find at your friendly local game store. So that's a way potentially to save a little bit of room in your backpack and also to support your friendly local game store. Okay, Mark Cook has one final suggestion here. He says, if you're ever at Essen, make sure you eat the spiral potato on a stick. I was at Essen and I saw people eating this thing and I didn't try one. So I guess I need to. So I guess I have to go back next year. Okay. And Tia Coburn writes, I'm going to PAX Unplugged for the first time this year and it's a big con. I was nervous about what to do, and this really helped me. Thank you so much, and I hope you feel better soon. Tia, that was so nice of you to write. I'm so glad to hear that this video series is already helping someone. Don't worry, you're gonna have a great time. Follow the tips in the last video, follow the tips in this video, and you're gonna be okay. In fact, I'd love if after the convention, if you wouldn't mind coming back here and posting in the comments how it went. Maybe you picked up a few new tips, or maybe you can confirm some that were really good. That would be fantastic. And thank you for hoping that I'd be feeling better. Yes, a lot of people said that in the last video. I was under the weather. I'm feeling a lot better now. I had just a few other tips that I'd written down that nobody else said in the comments that I was thinking of from the last video, so I'll just mention them very quickly. It's nice to stay at a hotel near the convention if you cannot stay directly in the convention. It may seem obvious, but if you're buying games and things, it's nice to be able to go back to your room with those things and drop them off. Pack baggies, like the little plastic baggies. If you end up buying a bunch of games that you want to bring home with you, sometimes weight can be an issue with the luggage. And so I find if I punch all my games, I can get rid of a lot of weight that way. But then you have all these loose tokens. So if you take baggies with you, you can then put them in the baggies, put them in the box. You save a bunch of weight, and it's also nice and organized for when you get home. Have patience with the demoers. This goes back to what I said about maybe volunteer and be a demoer person yourself, because it's not an easy job. It's a long, difficult job. You're in a loud space. You're demoing games to people all day long. Some who are as enthusiastic as you are about being there, and others who are just kind of, I don't know, they don't want to be at that demo table. Someone dragged them there. And so this poor demo person's been dealing with all these different personality types all along, having to be loud and engaging. So just have patience with them if you can. Don't tie yourself down to your local friends. Okay, this is a funny one. What I mean is, if you're going with local friends to a convention, of course, hang out with them, have a good time with them if you so want, but don't feel obligated to spend all your time with them. I know myself, I've made a lot of friends through going to conventions and because of this channel, and so when I go to conventions, these are some of the few times of the year I get to see some people who are really special and important to me. So again, this goes back to creating your own experience. If you have friends you're traveling with, let them know, hey, some of the time I'm going to be breaking away from you to do some other things, and that's cool, right? Just make sure everyone's on the same page. Communication is really 9/10 of what's required in most of these situations. And yes, try to make some new friends while you're at a convention. It is so much fun to meet new people, then go your separate ways, but then know if you're able to return to those same conventions that each year you're going to see them again. It's really nice to reconnect. Okay, so those are just a bunch of tips for conventions. I'm sure there's lots more. If you've thought of any other ones that we haven't covered already, put them in the comments below. We'd really appreciate it because you know what? You're going to be helping some people just like Tia was. All right, until the next episode, thanks for watching.